Nevermore was created as a safe haven for our children.
Please excuse Wednesday. She's allergic to color.
Our first order of business is to escape this teenage purgatory.
Now I'm one step closer to solving this case. That is what is important.
You heard it up top. We are back once again. And on this one, we're getting ooky. We're getting kooky. We're getting spooky, because that's right. We're talking, of course, the favorite member of this family. That's right. It's Wednesday here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Colin, but I'm like writing it out in sign language and my hand's like scuttling around.
Okay,
Sure.
yeah. I'll be Mike Tisha. Yo, spooky goss.
You look so good.
Thanks.
Hey, it's me, Uncle Jester. Your favorite uncle.
Not the bees. Don't eat the
Wow.
bees, please.
Uncle Jester, shaved head.
Some lightning powers on you.
You really committed to
you're
it.
shooting force lightning.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Somehow Palpatine returned. So we're here, recording on a Monday, releasing on a Tuesday. It's Wednesday, my dudes. We are talking the Addams Family, like you said, the MVP of the Addams Family. I think a lot of people are fans from even the Christina Ricci days, but got a new streaming series on Netflix, just wrapped it up, and here we are. The
Yes.
Voldemort Academy.
Tim Burton's Wednesday, right?
Important to point out, this extremely popular show, Netflix. We're going to talk about all that stuff. I guess the history up top is just to ask, like, how much do you guys like Charles Addams, the Addams Family? Like, Jacob, is it like your favorite thing ever?
It's my favorite New Yorker cartoon strip, yes.
Is that what it was? Wow.
Yeah, it originally started as like a one-panel cartoon in the New Yorker for like 50 years.
Man.
And then there was the 60s television show. And then there was, of course, the movies, the two movies in the 90s. There's been a bunch of other spin-offs as well, even recently with the animated, CGI animated Addams Family. And now the show Wednesday, right? But of course, I
Weird.
love the 90s movies. Those are great movies.
Yeah. See, I grew up in a Munsters household, so
You
know,
go watch
we-
Rob Zombie's The Munsters.
Yeah,
then.
What the
which I think
rivalry.
has had a much less successful reboot this year, in the back of my Dragula. But I mostly saw the Addams Family from those '90s movies. We didn't watch a ton of it. Like, I would catch an episode here or there, but for whatever reason, the Munsters was kind of our go-to Monster Family show, which is weird because like they both aired like starting the same week. It was a real like Olympus Has Fallen, White House Down situation going on with those shows. But Colin, did you grow up with these? Like,
It was
where's your Addams?
Armageddon.
And
whatever.
Deep
Yeah.
Impact. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting that you say, what is her name? Mrs. Munster. I'm not as familiar with the Munsters, but as far
only
as
know
like
Herman,
Eddie
Lily. Then they
But
have the
the-
Normie daughter or niece anyway.
yeah, Monster Family, right? I'm a self-proclaimed Elvira guy, right? But
Mhm.
that doesn't like absorb my Morticia love. Like, yeah, I like the Addams Family, quote unquote, I guess.
Yeah.
We would see those 90s movies as a kid. I will say, when we were teens, like kids, I was probably too old to be watching this, but if I got my chores done early on Sunday, I would turn on Fox Kids, which was a TV channel. I'm going to be talking a lot about specific TV channels from when we were kids this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But the lead in to a show I wanted to watch called Angela Anaconda. Do you guys remember what the hell that was? A really weird cartoon
like a ransom note.
newspapery thing.
Yeah.
Yes, very
No,
gross looking, Mike.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Disgusting, Jacob. The lead
Sounds
into
like it.
that show was called The New Addams Family, and it was an attempt to have like a not Wednesday centered, but kind of a relaunch of that 60s show that Jacob had said. And it was like it felt like Power Rangers or like Big Bad Beetleborgs, but like just the live action teen kid parts. Do you know what I mean, Mike? Like none of the fun action stuff.
Oh,
No, I'm
sure.
pulling it
I
up
don't
and I'm
know.
starting to have like flashbacks of this existing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the era of like you could have had Addams Family Evolution, like very similarly.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just from when we were kids too, goth, which again we will talk about what goth means, the goth subculture. I would say our generation was hit a little more on that because 80s, I think punk and goth, they kind of didn't know the separation of that. Meanwhile, we
Right.
got goth and then it went on to emo. But the two goth queens when we were kids were Wednesday Addams and Sally the zombie from Nightmare Before Christmas. Like that's who goth girls
Yeah,
wanted
well,
to be, right?
We were growing
Yeah.
up in the peak Tim Burton era,
Yes,
right? You go into Hot
yes.
Topic,
We'll
buy
talk
yourself
about that.
some Nightmare Before
Yes.
Christmas clothing.
Even Edward Scissorhands is a goth icon. You know?
Yeah, of course. So Tim Burton being attached to this just makes sense, right?
Totally.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And
But I feel like those movies, the two 90s movies, really made Wednesday kind of the breakout star of the Addams Family in a way
Yeah.
that she wasn't before, right?
I think we
Specifically with
all
Christina Ricci's
walked
portrayal.
away going, Christina Ricci is a star now, and they made her a star. So it is interesting, of course, to see where she is now
yeah, and
on
also,
a show about Wednesday Addams.
yeah. I think she made that character, got that character over. Let's say with the audiences, it's like the most popular. That Pilgrim scene is always great. Good to see kind of
Yes.
throwbacks to that. And you know,
Yeah.
she did a lot of paranormal stuff with Casper. You know, so Christina Ricci's kind of been in this realm, you know, for a while.
Queen.
So yeah, Scream Queen, we dig it. So yeah, how about we you know, I don't know, should we wolf out and just jump right into
I'm gonna
Wednesday.
wait
Ready.
till the end of the episode
Okay,
to wolf
okay.
out.
Yeah, I'm not quite ready yet.
and no one's gonna push me to wolf out sooner than I'm ready. I'm
No.
sorry if I
I'm
pressure
gonna
you
send you
guys.
to that camp.
You
When I
do
do, I'm
you.
gonna turn it into
Yeah.
the cutest werewolf you've ever seen.
Good boy. Okay. All right. Well, you guys got nowhere to hide. We're going to be talking spoilers on Wednesday right after this.
We're back. We're talking Wednesday in Addams Family and getting kooky and ooky and spooky, like we said. But mainly, we're going to be talking, of course, this new Netflix fare, which we have confirmation is like the most watched Netflix thing of all time. So, congratulations to Wednesday.
More than
That
Stranger
is-
Things?
Yeah, it's mind
It has
blowing.
topped Stranger Things.
Okay, but how do we know
And
this? Because I feel
Bridgerton.
like Netflix announces
all
these
what I want
things.
to talk about, dog.
They
Yes.
don't actually release their numbers, right? They're just like,
No.
oh yeah, Wednesday, most watched thing ever. They could just be saying that. We don't know. You know?
And you jump on Reddit or any social media site and the astroturfing that's going on to be like, check out every Wednesday thing. It's happening. It's dropped, blah, blah, blah. It feels very forced. And Jacob, when they say these things and you're just supposed to be like, well, I guess it is a hit. The company that made it told me is, it does feel a little disingenuous,
I mean,
but it
yes,
seems like people are watching this thing, right?
Mhm.
but it's nowhere
Lot of
near sort of
memes.
the cultural impact of, say, Stranger Things so
Sure.
far, anyways.
Yeah.
You know,
And
it is.
I would
what
have
it
to
is.
I would have to go back in time and see just how impactful season 1 of Stranger Things was, or if it took some time, because we're getting a lot of memes out of this. Obviously, that dance is very popular from the show, and you know, there's some Wednesday content going on, but it's a little less blunt than Thursday Night Football, Rings of Power, Amazon Prime's #1 streaming show. But it's like, yeah, it's a little dubious when the company's telling you. And if anybody would want you to be skeptical, it would be Wednesday Addams. But it seems like people are digging this. I certainly enjoyed it. We're going to be spoiling this thing, but you know, general first impressions, I liked it. Colin, you know, where do you kind of land on this before we dive into it?
I was probably the most excited and maybe got it on your guys' radar. I'm not positive if that was true, but have been like outwardly talking about like Wednesday's gonna be great. Wednesday's gonna be great. It got here. I had to take a little break watching it because it didn't live up to sort of how I felt about it. And we'll talk about it how we go through it. I'm just more worried about how Netflix makes these things. But again, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Jacob,
okay.
how do you feel? Initial feelings?
Well, yeah, I did watch this based on your recommendation. So I knew about it, but I wasn't exactly kind of planning to watch it necessarily right away or anything. But you know, you kept talking about it, so I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And you know, I thought it was enjoyable. It's not amazing. It's not like my show of the year or anything, but I thought for what it is, it's perfectly enjoyable and watchable.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was a fun little show. I think we will get into how it feels very much like a Netflix thing. It has a lot of like DNA of other stuff, and you know, we'll
Yes.
dissect that. But
Totally.
I some of my friends recommended it too. They're like, oh, I watched it in a day. It was fun. It's cute,
Yeah.
whatever. So I was like, yeah, all right. So I went through and watched it, and it's like, yeah, it's goth Nancy Drew. Like, it's cool. I dig it.
Yes,
love that
it's
take on it.
it's
It's
got some
wholesome.
CW sort of DNA in there, like Riverdale type stuff. Got some Harry Potter DNA with the magical
School.
boarding school element of it all, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's go back though and talk about that Riverdale DNA. So Riverdale, a big CW show. Let's talk about who made Wednesday. Wednesday's on Netflix.
Well,
Tim
Morticia
Burton,
and
obviously.
Gomez, but
Well,
right.
they made her with love, and we know that, Mike.
They love each other.
they love each other very much.
But a prison cell cannot contain these two.
No.
Tim Burton is someone who puts his name on things. We had just said Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. Obviously, that film is called Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim Burton did not direct that film. That film was directed by Henry Selick, who's a wonderful animator. This is being called Tim Burton's Netflix's Wednesday. This is not made by Tim Burton. This is made by Alfred
produced.
Goh. It's exec produced by him, but it's created by Alfred Goh and Miles Millar, who are, of course, the creators of this. But Jacob, we know them from being the guys who basically created the CW by making the first big The WB show back when the channel was called The WB. Before in 2006, it merged with
Buffy
UPN.
The Vampire Slayer?
Buddy, a little
before
later,
that?
a show we actually watched, Smallville, because I know you weren't a Buffy guy at the time. You were a Smallville guy.
Mhm.
These two are the Smallville creators. There's so much
Okay.
teen drama CW DNA in this thing because they're the guys who came up with that hook for TV shows.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Because it does have that teen drama CW angle that we've seen in so many shows, not just Riverdale, all our Arrowverse shows that we used to watch and all that. But it's got that formula in there. But I do like the Harry Potter vibes of it all. Like you said, November, December, that's Harry Potter watching time. And I think this is a nice substitute for little Harry Potter that I haven't seen before, right?
Like that.
Yeah, it's definitely got those vibes. And the teen drama, like what music genre gets the biggest audience? It's stuff that's kind of targeted towards teens. So you get it why this is maybe so successful, because it's like hitting that sweet spot of the market that they figured out, like how to really speak to with the CW shows, I guess. So they're just kind of building upon everything.
And with
learned.
the kids these days, we're not kids these days, but the
Get out of
kids
here,
these
boomer.
days, they're bringing back pop punk, they're bringing back emo. They're bringing back all these things that was big when
They're
we were
sad
kids.
now. Kids are sad.
So why
and
not bring
Wednesday is
hot topic Tim Burton aesthetic back?
Dude,
makes too much
Jacob,
sense.
Everyone's apathetic.
you
You
maybe
nailed
just
it.
flip me around to love this show now, dude.
Yeah. Well,
It
obviously we're
speaks
not
to
the target
Zoomer.
audience, right? Yeah.
No,
We're not
and
15-year-old.
Right.
But and let's say though, it's something that has love triangles. It's something we talked about that sort of does go towards that CWE Twilight. There's a lot of that DNA in here as well. The sort of the others, the Normies. Excuse me, Normies listening to this show.
That's
How
right.
could we not
You're
cover
Normies.
this show? There is a subset of people on it called the Normies.
Yeah,
Normies and
I
outcasts.
took offense when they're like, yeah, you shouldn't date a normie. I'm like, okay, hold on.
No. Outcasts only.
I agree with them, to be fair. Yeah.
But I think it's doing all that because literally we pay this machine that came up with the first original show to truly be driven by metrics, where they said, we know people rent political dramas and Kevin Spacey movies. We invent House of Cards. And you're like, okay, cool. Now we have this thing where they go, Netflix had the contract to air the CW shows longer than anybody else. So kids have grown up now thinking, what do you mean Riverdale's on the CW? That's a Netflix show. In Canada, that's a direct to Netflix show. What are you talking about? I don't watch that on the CW. So they've watched 5 seasons of that and they think, that's what Netflix is. They make this type of content. Now Netflix has lost the contract to air that stuff and they go, algorithm, do your magic, baby. Beep, 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 beep. Harry Potter School, Normies, Jekyll and Hyde's.
Teen detective.
Yes, love triangles.
Yep.
Teen solving murders slash Stranger Things slash. I bet at one point they were like, should we set this in the 90s? I guarantee that was a
Oh
conversation.
man, yeah, I
Sure,
bet.
sure.
That's how we can get
Well,
the
that's
cell
what's
phones
so
out of it.
interesting, and I want to talk about this too, but
Yeah.
setting these Addams Family characters in modern day where they're talking about like cell phones and texting and stuff kind of took me out of it sometimes when they're like, you don't have social media. I'm like, Wednesday Addams should not know what social media is. You know,
Yeah,
just feels wrong. But
I'm on board for her not caring for it. Like I like that
it
she's
fits her
over it,
character, for
but
sure.
it is a little. I mean, it's a new look. You're introducing these characters to a younger generation. I get it, but there are a lot of things that they're copying from Netflix's catalog. Like you get Umbrella Academy vibes. Here's a school for weird people. Then we have to do our main character playing an instrument in a cool scene, just like Stranger Things. Everybody loved that, or weird dance, you know. So they are pulling from their previous successes, but again, I think it's a wholesome, fun show. You know, it's about accepting people as they are, and you know, all those kind of like, wholesome lessons. And
absolutely. Let me just say this too. Knowing Netflix that they own the Charles and M. Addams cartoon catalog, and that they also own the what's his name? The BFG Roald Dahl, that they own the Roald Dahl stuff.
Oh yeah.
I guarantee at one point they were like, is this Wednesday Addams, or like, is this Willy Wonka goes to Nevermore Academy?
Or the witches, right? There's that Roald.
Tim Burton's like, I'll do Willy Wonka or Wednesday Addams, whichever project you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, to mention Riverdale
Candy
again, I think
Academy.
the other big connection is they're both based on IP from like the 50s and 60s, right? With the Archie comics, Riverdale.
How can you make them
obviously.
cool?
Yeah, so it's like modernizing these like 50s, 60s nostalgia IP products for modern day.
And Jacob, when our lead actress is spending a lot of her scenes in a diner, or I guess a coffee shop in this, but in Riverdale where they sit and drink malted milkshakes, whereas she's sitting with lattes, you know, and under neon and stuff, you are getting that same aesthetic. You're absolutely right.
And obviously, I think this show is actually a little more grounded than Riverdale, because Riverdale gets pretty wild and crazy. You know, I mean, I don't even watch it, but I just know some of the plot points from that show, and it's just
This show has Medusas in it.
Yeah, but it's just like
Gorgons,
X-Men or you know, Harry Potter. Like magical things exist.
Yeah.
There's a school for them. It's not that weird. Like it still feels grounded within their universe, right?
Sure.
It's obeying its own rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going too crazy.
Although I don't think it's ever clear how like much the normies know about like magical beings like werewolves and vampires that exist, but it seems like they know of them. But yeah,
like police chief, he knows that other things exist because they're aware of the school and who attends it, but the extent to which there's other beings that are like monster,
right?
You know, who knows? It's a
like
vague.
when the one guy sees Thing and he's like, oh, well, that's weird, a disembodied hand, but he doesn't seem like that phased out about it. So
I'm like, you're a psychic. You think that's weird?
Right,
you brought a painting to life.
Yeah. You are literally a werewolf.
Yeah.
I do like the
Gorgons.
But
But you guys say the rules are clear. I would ask you, what are the rules of the Addams Family? What makes them clear? Because again, talking back to the base thesis of this being, the Addams Family is strange. The comedy in the original script comes from the clash of normal versus strange. Yes, that totally makes sense. But in this, we get the circumstances of she's strange. She goes to a school for the strange, where she's not strange enough for the strangos, but she's too strange for the normies, which is classic YA, you know, center. She's the most important kid, you know.
Right.
I'm weird everywhere. But the tone of, I mean, at one point she can say things like, I was cutting Pugsley's head off, and, you know, this was happening and that. And then other times she can be crying because Thing might die.
It is jarring because they make so many jokes about death and morbid stuff, but then it's like, oh, when real people are actually dying, of course she cares. Like, so that is a bit jarring.
She introduces herself as, my father's a murderer and he's blah blah, and we've got, are you saying he was like wanted? Well, he got off on trial, or like these little catty jokes, and then later when he's arrested, I've lost all my faith in my father now that my confidence is shaken that he might be a murderer, and it's like, murder? Wait, what are you talking about?
I thought that was a positive.
The underlying joke of the Addams Family has always been like, they're like morbid and weird, but they're actually like a really well-adjusted family. Like Like
Yes.
Morticia and Gomez love each other. They're in like a very
Mhm.
stable relationship. And it's always about how like outsiders react to them actually just being very normal in their house and like being very agreeable essentially. And but they just come off as weird because of their aesthetics mostly, and like they're just into like grisly things, right? So I
Yeah,
guess
even
that, yeah,
no, yeah, Fester is a cool uncle who teaches her cool shit. You know, like it is
right.
pretty wholesome, I guess, when you look at it that way. And they have the brother sister sibling rivalry that's completely normal in most households. So I never looked at that angle, but yeah, they just like macabre shit, but they're pretty much a
Yeah.
well functioning family unit.
It is the ultimate situation of when you were a kid and you would go over to your parent or your friend's house and his parents would be cooking dinner and the kitchen would smell strange. That's a scary thing for a kid because you're so adjusted to your little bubble of how you have the world.
Right.
Anything different sets you off. So they are the ultimate other, right? And that is,
Yeah.
Jacob, that's the great thing about the Addams Family. But again, the questions that this show posed where I'm like, well, right, but like, you're like you and Morticia are like digging up graves together and laughing and all this stuff, and that is great. That's core Addams Family humor, I guess. But then
Yeah.
the stakes can't fluctuate between the principal was killed, the
Well, that's where it
zombie is
all-
back and he's gonna kill everybody. And I'm at the end of this, I'm like,
Yeah.
a zombie's back. Like, what are you talking about?
It all kinds of falls apart when it's the whole thing is sort of around this murder mystery and people are actually dying.
Yes.
But I think that's the difference, is that they're like macabre stuff, but they're not actively like killing people.
No.
Yeah. Who
No, I
knows?
mean,
It's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, Christina Ricci threw a baby off the roof in the 90s movie, but, you know,
Yeah.
Gomez caught it. It's all fine. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But it's
You
a
know?
joke.
So
And
you're
you
suspending
but
some
you get it
disbelief
in
here.
the circumstances of that, Mike. And did
Yeah,
you
yeah.
love that they did a Addams Family values shout out? They clearly say that phrase. You're like, oh,
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Obviously,
Yeah,
a lot of
there's-
references, like you said, with the Pilgrim stuff.
yes.
That's the best part, I think, of Addams Family Values, when she goes to that summer camp, right?
Right.
Yep. And she does a very similar thing here. Like, even speaking
Yeah.
German to like, hey, this is about the oppressors. Fudge wasn't even
Right.
invented until 200 years
But-
later.
Well,
Fuck
but
out.
then she becomes very Latino when she's the ghost. Only in the second half, after Morticia says, "Well, her ancestor was from Mexico. She was one of the first people here."
Right.
Then Goody
Well-
Addams becomes Spanish. Did you guys
Oh.
notice that? I was like, "That's
No.
interesting."
Oh,
but,
yeah, that's right. She does a dual role here.
Yeah.
Yeah. She plays Goody Addams, which, of course, the whole Addams family in this is Latino, which is sort of an homage to Charles Addams, who was Hispanic. He just,
Oh,
people didn't
did
know
not
that
realize.
because the last name Addams doesn't sound Hispanic, but it's sort of a married name kind of situation, I think. So, the original Addams family was supposed to be sort of Hispanic, I think.
Okay, yeah. So we get
Let's-
Louise Guzman and Catherine Zeta-Jones. It all
Yeah.
fits.
Let's go through this beautiful cast and then kind of get through the plot of this thing. We're
yeah.
kind of airing our grievances, and I think as we go through it, we'll be able to point out more like, yeah, this is, but liking it as well. I'm not saying we're all disliking.
Yeah, yeah. In
'Cause I
the
know
in
you're
the
very
Wednesday
positive.
context of airing your grievances, that's a compliment. So
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Wednesday. Mike, what do you think of Jenna Ortega as Wednesday Addams?
yeah, so I have not really been familiar with any of her work outside of X. That's the first thing I saw this year with her in it.
Right.
I think she's pretty good in it. Everybody in that movie is a great casting choice. Mia Goth, shout out to my Goths, crushes it in a dual role. So Jenny Ortega gets a chance to dual role in this.
Why
which
isn't
is
Mia
great
Goth
for her.
in this show?
Season 2, come on, make
Yeah.
it happen.
She's goth.
She was too
She's
busy
a
being
god.
Pearl. But yeah, I think she's good. And I think Jenna Ortega is a good successor to Christina Ricci. The whole her not blinking thing. I think she has that dry wit. She learned to play the cello and archery and do fencing and stuff. So I give her
That's
full
right.
credit. She learned German, so shout out Jenna Ortega. I
Canoeing.
think she did good.
Dancing.
Yeah, Jacob,
she
how do
did
you
a lot for. I think that well, first of all, I first saw her in the show You. It's a show called
right.
You,
Oh.
which I think Colin, you might have seen.
I have
she's in-
since watched that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's in season 2 of You, which takes place in L.A. And she
Yeah, she lives in my apartment complex.
Yeah.
she terrorizes
Basically.
me every day.
No
but
kidding.
yeah, and this was a couple years ago, so she's still playing much younger than even Wednesday is. She's playing like a 13 or 14-year-old girl, but she's in this whole subplot with that. All right. Oh, what was that comedian that was in that?
Oh, dog, Chris D'Elia,
Yeah.
you're right.
So he
Oh.
plays a comedian that like is doing bad stuff to like
He's
young
gonna
girls.
take pictures of her.
Yeah, and then
God,
in real life, it came out that like he was basically that character, which was
Chris
super
D'Elia,
weird.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
That is
so-
fucked up.
And
But yeah,
if you have
season 2 of-
shout out, if you have not seen the video of him on a podcast saying out loud, "What do you mean? Snapchats all get deleted. People can't save those." As he is putting together that his life is over, it's one of the greatest clips of all time.
Yeah,
It's
when
wild.
they
And
explain
I
to
always
him
thought it
that
was-
there's a paper trail and he's fucked. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
and ever since that came out, I thought it was wild that he played a character in a show that had like the same like trajectory as like, why are you even playing this character? Like, it's weird. But she was in that, and I thought she was good in that. And then obviously I saw X and stuff, but she's kind of up and coming, and I think she really carries the show for me. She's like the standout performance, and without her, I don't think the show is nearly as good as it is. She kind of carries the show for me.
She
No,
has
and
to.
now we do enter my theory, which is, of course, that this is the female version of The Witcher. She is the only character across the board that is an amazing performance. I'm not going to say great character, because you do end up kind of getting over to Geralt, right? Where you're like, I like being with this guy. I think by the end of this, truly, Wednesday is maybe one of the most insufferable people ever created, but I still love her because Jenna Ortega is magnificent. And I just think she's phenomenal. The first time I saw her was in on a roller coaster, because I was, of course, seeing Scream in 4DX, as I have said before, being tossed in the air during her opening scene, thinking, this person's magnetic. I wonder who she is. She's incredible. I go home that night. Warner Brothers, because of their dumbass no movies go to theater during quarantine rule, has their new movie open that week, since it'd been a couple weeks since Scream was out, and I had finally gotten around to seeing it. And The Fallout is there. She's the star of The Fallout, which is her breakthrough performance, a school shooter drama where she is the survivor. It's my best actress of the year. I think she is far and away. I haven't met Lydia Tarr yet, Jacob. I haven't met Lydia Tarr yet, so I don't know if she's better than her. But I truly think Jenna Ortega is Natalie Portman, like the next greatest actress.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean,
well, first of all,
go ahead.
go ahead.
A rebuttal away.
Well, I was gonna say I don't even agree with your Witcher take necessarily, because I like.
Who else is worth watching? Dandelion, Jeskar. Yeah,
I think Yennefer's actress is really good in that show, but
maybe.
I get where you're coming from. I will say the two characters that I really liked in this were Wednesday and her roommate Enid. I thought that relationship was the strongest. Like, I didn't care about these love interests, like these
tall,
skinny
fuck
white boys.
boys.
Get out of here.
No,
it's Wednesday.
Ajax and
Hell
frickin'
yes.
Xavier. Yeah.
And Tyler. Yeah, no one gives a F about
No
them,
one
okay?
gives an F.
But Enid and Wednesday, I felt like they had a really strong relationship, and they worked well together because there's such a contrast.
Yes.
And I thought the Enid character could really easily be an annoying character, but she never comes off as annoying to me because she's just so endearing and like likable that she never went over the edge to annoying for me, even though she easily could have,
Came around.
And Enid, she's played by Emma Myers. I don't know much about this actress, but wanted to shout out the name so people can be familiar. But yeah, I think their dynamic is good. She gives off, Luna Lovejoy vibes to a degree.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If we're gonna make
obviously she's the werewolf who hasn't wolfed out yet, and is going to do it in her own time, but
her mom's kind of pressuring her, but she's
outcast from the other werewolves.
Conversion camp.
Right? Yeah. She doesn't want to just wolf out yet, but she's the bubbly personality, bright colors, and Wednesday's obviously
allergic.
She gets a special uniform made because she can't wear the blue. It's like everybody's a Ravenclaw here, but she has to have her all black uniform.
And this is one of these well thought out, and you from the base of, we're gonna have this character who has her roommate's gonna have a line down the room. Wednesday is all black. She's all color. You can see them sort of coming up with that. I think that's such a good jumping off point that it makes her so much more developed than any of the other kids who go to school where you're like, What's your
Yeah.
thing? I have no face. And you're like, you have no face? What are you?
You're a
what?
siren. You've
Yeah,
got
you're
a
a
siren song.
siren. Yeah.
You know, I could
Yeah.
take it or leave it. But I guess this comes to my theory, which isn't even really a theory, I don't think, as much as I just think it's text of the show, is that Wednesday, I think, is like on the spectrum, right? She's like autistic.
Very coded that way, I would say.
Very
That's
autistic
that's a
coded.
good take. Yeah.
She doesn't understand emotions. She doesn't
No.
like being touched.
At
Those
all.
are like
No contact.
major,
Yeah.
you know, signs that you're on the spectrum. She's like obviously very smart, very talented in a lot of ways, but doesn't fit in with normie kids, right? I don't know. To me, it was just very obvious that she's like autistic coded.
Yeah, we'll say things that maybe wouldn't be socially acceptable otherwise, you know, kind of no filter thing. Yeah. But
Yeah.
She's a savant.
yeah, no, she's a genius at fencing and cello and all that. So yeah, but
She wants to
writing.
understand emotions, but just can't. But is like struggling to connect with her friends, and like it's like, oh, this guy likes me. I guess I don't know how I feel about like
And-
romantic feelings and that kind of thing.
And I
Yeah,
said
yeah,
that
yeah.
she is an unlikable character ultimately, but the journey clearly of the show is how can we make Wednesday Addams likable? How do you get someone who the whole premise of them is no friends, no social life, to the end she's looking at emojis on her phone? And that is a journey. And maybe this is that season 1 where it's like, well, we got to get all that out and get through it. And maybe I'll kind of end up liking it a little more.
Well,
Yeah, I
that
think
arc really
Enid
worked
helps
for me.
make that work. Yeah, Jacob, go ahead.
I think so too.
Totally,
Mike, yeah.
totally. Yeah. Enid's kind of best qualities kind of rub off on her over time, and she kind of softens her image a little bit by the end of it. Even, you know, hugging Enid back when she like hated like hugs and that kind of thing. Like that to me is like a classic, you know, autistic person trying to connect with people, neurotypicals, and not always understanding, but like really wanting to, you know, have friends and experience emotions and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're quote unquote like the break scene when she's like, you know, I'm trying to be your friend so hard and you just don't get it. And then when they make up for it, like that hug was really touching. Like it landed for me as an emotional beat.
It's the thing of the show, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the arc, and I think that's successful. But there are things that Wednesday does that do frustrate me sometimes, Colin. Namely,
she pushes people away, right?
She pushes people away, but also just every time she gets a clue, you're the one that did it. I fucking know you are, you son of a bitch.
I will.
And then she's
appear
always
like
wrong.
A shadow, yeah.
Yeah.
It just truly just be wrong.
She just gets it wrong.
And as
gets it wrong,
Xavier
gets it
points
wrong.
out at one point, it's like you are ruining my life. Leave me alone.
Which might
She's
be the
like
point.
This little goblin, yeah.
Yeah, she's very quick to accuse people. And
Yes.
this might be my biggest problem with the show overall, is that I solved the mystery before Wednesday did.
So we're going to talk about the premise of the show just because you said that. Jake.
Okay.
The opening line of, spoilers for anybody who's not seen Wednesday, of Christina Ricci's character is she walks in and goes, sorry, I'm tracking mud in here. And I'm like, why would you say that? That's the dumbest thing ever. And in my mind, I go, well, you did it. And then when we see the creature and it's a CGI rendering of a kid we know's head, I'm like, well, I know who the monster is.
Right. He doesn't have long hair. He has shorter hair, right?
Well, but I mean, it's his face. They give him the bug eyes, but I'm like, I know who that is. So again, the mystery, it's so weak, it's so childlike, and it's just at one point I'm like, literally I'm saying out loud, like, why is Ricky Lindholm in this other than to be a red herring? Like, what is she? What is her character even getting out of any of this? Or characters will just appear and yes, but characters will just appear and be like, Wednesday, it's me, your friend. And I'll be like, you guys haven't had a scene together. You're all about to reveal something. Okay, reveal something. Like, it's just the timing is so poor. Yeah.
I think that's the weakest part, is that the mystery is too obvious. At least it was to me. I think maybe for, you know, teenagers, it might be different because they're not used to these story beats or something. But obviously there's kind of two red herrings. Like, well, eventually we find out, okay, so it's probably a woman who's controlling this monster who turns into a kid. And there's
Say what it is. It's the master of a hide, Jacob. Say what we all know what it is.
The monster is a Hyde, as in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Which has a master. We all know that too.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
You unlock their hidden
Sherlock
power
Holmes
somehow.
is the master.
But and there's the double red herring where you're like, at first you think, oh, it's the therapist and it's Xavier, even though I never
But
thought it was
it's-
Xavier. 'cause
You
it's
never
so-
think it's either of those two
Yeah.
people.
Right.
Yeah,
And
and then of
Xavier's
course
like,
it turns out to be Christina Ricci and
yeah, it's
Tyler.
Professor Sprout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's
She
there's
is.
literally two new characters that come in: the therapist and the new teacher. Oh, I wonder which one of those could be. And then the two love interest boys. One of them is the monster.
And the principal, they're never going to lean that way. And the bully, they're never going to lean that way because new age YA stuff always has the like enemy you turn to a friend.
Right.
And,
Yeah, the
and
bully
teach
girl
and disciplinarian
has her
who
own
turns
storyline.
around on. Exactly. And you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, God.
This
You're gonna
authority
teach
figure
all of
doesn't need to
you-
be conquered. It needs to be allied
Yes,
with. And we understand each
exactly.
other. That's the difference of this
Yes.
and Ferris Bueller, right?
And even the principal, Gwendolyn Christie, we kind of knew that she wasn't really involved because we know she's a shapeshifter, so she can't be the Hyde if she's a shapeshifter because she's already one thing.
Right. But she
Quiet, how
doesn't.
dare
She does
you.
get accused.
Yeah.
Everybody gets accused, which is what
Well,
I
that's
like.
I think she says it could be Enid at one point. Enid's a werewolf. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, the mystery's maybe a little weak. I didn't get it like right away. I didn't call it right away. Maybe about halfway through. Like once she like tried to yell at Xavier, I'm like, yeah, I think it's coffee shop boy at that
But
point.
were you
Yeah, I
trying to
didn't call
solve it,
right
Mike?
away.
Or were you just sort of like actively trying to wrap your brain around like, well, why are we going to Pilgrim World now? This isn't going to end with like a zombie pilgrim rising up.
Well, I
is it?
like that.
No,
part.
yeah,
Like,
that's the difference. Yeah.
I want to say I actually
Pilgrim
like the
stuff works.
historical part,
Sure.
how it ties into the witch trials. I think that's really good.
Cragstone.
Well, your
because
your
Crackstone.
ancestor Goody Evil. I mean, that makes sense. You're
Yeah.
tied to a lot of this
Okay.
history.
this did kind of annoy me that her ancestor was named Goody Addams, and they all called her Goody like that was her first name. But if you've like seen or read the Crucible, you know like Goody is not a name; it's like a title. It's like Good Wife,
It's like it's like a
Good
it's
Wife,
your
Goody
partner.
Proctor, right?
yeah.
But they act like Goody was her first name, which just bothered me for some reason. But
I mean, it's the only reason it couldn't be, you know.
I guess.
But
She gets an
Goody.
accent halfway through the show. I'm not bothered by any of it. Let's
Yeah.
here. We're gonna go back. We're gonna do the whole thing, but let's finish up our Adams real quick and say Mike said them. Luis Guzman is our Gomez,
Mhm.
and
Catherine
Catherine
Zeta-Jones.
Zeta-Jones.
she dips beneath the lasers. The greatest of all time is, of course, our Morticia Addams. Now, heavy shoes to fill. Raul, Julia, God rest your soul, and Angelica Houston in the movies. How do we feel about these two, Mike?
I think they're great. I mean, I never read the comics, but I know some people are more used to the Raul Julia, M. Bison version.
Right.
I guess this is more comic accurate. It's more like the animated show where he's a little bit shorter and
Oh, sure. Okay.
yeah, and then Morticia's very tall. So I think it matches the comics, and I think they're great. I think they did a really great job.
It does
Jacob?
match the comics, and I like them. I read a lot, so I was reading online like what people think about the show and stuff. A lot of negative comments about the casting of these two characters for some reason. A lot of people didn't like them, didn't think they had chemistry. I thought they did.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of people saying Luis Guzman, oh, he's like too ugly or whatever to be Gomez. I don't buy that at all. Like you said, he looks very comic. If you look at the original comic strips, like he looks like the character, and I think he fits perfectly.
And this is Tim Burton's. Of course he's going to lean more into that. Do they work for you, Colin?
Yeah, and you just brought up an even better point to me. It's like they're Tim Burton's. It's like, what are you talking about? It's those perfect versions of them. I think they're fine. They love each other. They're in 2 episodes. I mean, they basically send her to school. You see them for 5 minutes of that first episode. Then, of course, we get a family visits episode
The
where,
flashback episode.
again,
Mhm.
this is like the C plot of the show. Mystery of the school, mystery of the monster. What happened to Morticia and Gomez when they went to the school? I'm like, we
Right.
don't need to be wrapping up
To me,
any of this.
It's
stuff.
loosely
Okay.
related to the Pilgrim mystery,
It
but
ends
yeah,
up
it doesn't
being
feel that
very
way.
tied in. Yes,
To me, it
at
But on
the
first
time, it was
blush,
not much.
mm-mm. Mhm.
Well, to me, it reminds me of, again, Harry Potter when they talk about, like, oh, Harry's parents at the school back in the day with Snape and all that. Like, it's kind of like that. And obviously, Gwendolyn Christie, the principal, there was like a love triangle between them. I do feel like her character was basically wasted, though, and I don't know why they killed her off in the end. If there's going to be another season of this,
That's
why
a
would you
Gwendolyn
kill off
Christie
Yeah.
staple. It's in her contract to waste
Well,
her character.
she
Unfortunately.
was wearing
Yeah.
that shiny armor when she died, Jacob. She might still be alive.
Star Wars.
I was upset that she died, though. I was
Game of
like,
Thrones
why?
in this.
You-
What was the point of killing that?
But
kid?
Jacob, you
Yeah.
are like, it's coalescing in my mind. We have said off pod, like, yeah, it's like a Harry Potter show so many times. But now, like, the young main child who's like accusing a teacher, and it turns out it's not them. At the end, it's a different teacher who's evil
Yeah.
and summons
It's
a
a lot
great
like Harry
evil,
Potter.
and they have to destroy the thing. And it ends with everybody saying, "I hope I see you in school next year."
Yeah, next
Like,
season will
that's
be
like
a different
that's
like
dad in a
so
year-long
crazy,
mystery.
Jacob.
Yeah.
That is insane.
And instead of different houses, they just have like the werewolves, the vampires, the
They have
gorgons.
cliques and
Yeah.
one special secret society that everyone's a part of.
Right.
Mhm. Which opens
Yeah.
very similar to the Ravenclaw common room. I'm just saying.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of similarities. Principal
Yeah, I
That's
guess.
so lazy.
We get the
There's a lot
resurrection of
like
an evil
Snape.
wizard. You
Yeah.
know?
God bless. We just said it, but God bless Gwendolyn Christie. She comes in, she
Yeah,
classes
she's
up these
great.
joints.
Yeah.
She gets second billing in this motherfucker. Fantastic. Good for you. Not in
Yeah.
it much.
Well, that's the thing is like, why did they kill her? The only thing I can think, Gwendolyn Christie didn't want to do another season, but it seems
Yeah,
like such a
could
way.
be.
Like her character didn't even have full potential. It seemed like they were building to something with her connections to the
honestly,
Addams.
She could have been our
parents.
Dumbledore. Like, I get you now,
Yeah.
Wednesday Addams. You know?
should have been. But
Mhm.
Mike, we're 3 months into shooting in Budapest, and I think I'm walking around saying, like, what if my character dies? Like,
Yeah.
I just think
Sure.
I'm like what
Well,
are
I
we
did read a
doing?
quote from her, and she said,
Yeah.
basically, this is like the first time I've been on screen where I felt like beautiful. Like I looked beautiful. So I wanted to thank
What?
the showmakers for that. Because usually,
That's
she's cast as like
awesome.
Brienne, who's supposed to be like the tomboy.
Well,
like not
Brienne is
beautiful.
beautiful. Hold on. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
To be fair.
In the show,
But-
but in the book,
Yes,
she's
yes.
described much more like physically ugly and stuff. So
Now,
she's Hollywood ugly in that she's tall, basically.
and that she was a model when she was discovered. Now,
Yeah.
but Jacob, don't you think half of the casting comes down to the fact that Jenna Ortega is 5 foot maybe, and that Gwendolyn Christie, you've got this beautiful symmetry when they're sharing scenes together.
Well, you noticed that she wears platform shoes a lot Wednesday. And because the
creepers,
the
yeah.
two boys that are her love interest are like 2 feet taller than her. So, yeah.
It makes it, but that's very Tim Burton, kind of like cartoonish kind of proportional difference. And it's like,
Totally.
yeah, you know,
Totally.
And skinny, stretched out, weird boys. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
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 What if
they put
one
him
of
on
the-
the rack?
What if one of the weirdos was like, I have scissors for hands?
Dowdy the gardener is just an old scissor hand guy.
That
That's
would have
Edward.
been great, Mike. I would really
Oh,
like
man.
that.
Did you
Well, let
see
me
the
ask you
head
this.
from Beetlejuice on Gwendolyn Christie's desk?
No.
Yeah, there's a
I missed
little
that.
little shrunken
Amazing.
head
I
there.
missed that.
Yep.
Well,
TikTok
let me ask you
pointed
guys
out. I
this.
didn't do that.
Yeah.
So we like Wednesday. We like Enid. How
Yeah.
do we feel about Xavier and Tyler, the two
Yeah.
competing love
And
interests? I
Ajax,
guess?
who's on the side there, the Gorgon
Ajax
guy.
is like Enid's love interest, right?
I think Ajax is the best of
And-
the three.
And
Yeah.
the bee kid,
Oh, I
and the
love the
bee
bee
kid.
kid.
He was-
Eugene.
yeah.
The B plot. Yeah.
He's like Wednesday's platonic friend that he's like the Neville of the Neville Longbottom.
Oh my god.
Jacob.
think about
Jacob.
it.
He's
He
gonna be the
gets
hero of the whole
hurt, and then he
series.
solves the mystery at the end, and he
does.
kind of is the hero.
Yeah.
He's Neville. Yeah.
Actually, Wednesday, you didn't know that she had red shoes.
I
Yeah.
did wonder about what's that kid's name? Eugene.
Yep.
What was his power just that he can control
He can
bees?
talk to bees, is what Wikipedia said.
Okay.
Does that mean his mother's can? I did not understand a moment of that.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know he had a power until the end when he's like controlling the bees, but I thought
Well-
he was just into bees.
But to the point you bring up, Jacob, what is Gomez Addams' power that he went to that school?
Right. They're just weird
Yeah,
and into
right.
spooky stuff.
Sword
I
fighting.
guess.
Fester didn't go there. He just came around. We know Morticia had
Is like a
visions
psychic.
as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. To your question, though, Xavier versus Percy, I truly spent all of my
Tyler.
time watching.
You mean
Tyler,
Sure.
Newt Scamander?
Sure, whatever. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you mean who does Robert Pattinson play in Harry Potter?
Edward. Oh,
No.
fucking
Cedric.
Cedric
Diggory.
So
Yeah.
you mean Cedric or
boy.
Ron? Well, I was kind of pro Ron actually.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Obviously, Tyler is kind of winning the love contest this
Yes.
season until we find out, he's actually the big bad. And they're just building this Xavier relationship for next
but
season,
Jacob,
right?
you love to see a normie townie beating out the rich popular kid. I was like,
Right. This is Coffee Kid. There you go. Yeah, Normies.
But then the
Nice.
twist,
I was like,
normal
why-
kids are bad.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
whole season I was like,
Well, he's
why,
not a
what does
normie, that's the problem.
Wednesday? Why is Wednesday into this kid? What does she see in him? He's just like a normie coffee boy.
Yeah.
But turns out he was a Hyde. And then Xavier, I guess his story is okay in that his dad is like a rock star that like doesn't love him or something, and he feels neglected.
But truly the resolution of he is in a cop car at the end, falsely accused of all of these events.
Mhm.
Car crash, or I'm sorry, they park. How am I going to get out of here? How am I getting out of here? Thing, you made it. Yeah, I'm going to save the day. He shows up 10 minutes after everything's been done, and he gives everyone a hug. And I'm like, what? Like, what was
Yeah.
the point of this kid?
Yeah, his painting power could have
It's
been
too,
maybe useful.
Yeah, his point is to, build for season 2 and make him the love interest in season 2.
But yeah, you do feel bad for him. He's getting framed. They plant all that evidence at his house. And again, Wednesday's just running around literally accusing everybody. You're 100% the murderer. Like anybody
You have
she could
scratch
find.
on
Yeah.
your neck. You killed someone.
Her
No,
evidence, with
Yeah.
Xavier is
No, I
that he's
didn't.
just always there after the monster
Yes.
attacks. But so is Tyler, and that's the whole like reveal is
Point.
that Tyler was there every time too. But yeah,
Yeah. I again, that's a little iffy, but I do like finding all the Harry Potter parallels. We haven't talked about the Fester. I'm not in love with this
Yes.
portrayal. I prefer, Christopher Lloyd, great Scott Wednesday. But
yes, Well,
probably
so we get-
my least favorite of the main family.
yeah.
Pugsley's
so we have
fine, but
Fred
he doesn't
Armisen.
exist.
He in all iterations, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday is a much better character than Pugsley.
Turns out.
Mhm.
Fester, obviously, we have Fred Armisen playing Fester in this. There are some rumors. So when this was being made, they didn't announce who was going to be Fester, and some people online were speculating that it was going to be Johnny Depp, and it was going to be a surprise Johnny Depp
Tim
announcement
Burton.
because of the Tim Burton connection.
You madman.
In the midst of
Yeah.
a trial, I would have loved to see that.
Right.
Jacob.
So it was like
Jesus
controversial online to
Christ.
be like, oh, they're going to make Johnny Depp. But Fred Armisen makes sense. Another
Latino.
Hispanic actor. Yes.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. He was fine. Obviously, Christopher Lloyd, big shoes to fill, like you said.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Fester canonically had like electricity powers. Like I know you can like put a light bulb in his mouth
Well,
and
he's
make it
been
light up.
electrocuted so many times, right?
Yeah.
Again, maybe this is that dumb Fox Kids show. My understanding is that his whole look, the bald head, the dark eyes, is meant to promote someone who is put in an electric chair. And that the entire joke for him was somebody who has survived that stuff. Now, but again, Jacob, what is the character of Uncle Fester? Christopher Lloyd, Mike, is incredible in that performance because it's so physical. It's so much what he's doing with the eyes and how he's controlling having a huge body to push it down into Fester proportions. Meanwhile, Fred Armisen, you really get the feeling that he's like, I'll be Curly from Three Stooges. You're like, well, what does that mean? And it's like, well, he was another bald comedian like me.
Well-
and you're like, well, that's no.
Mhm.
I do think he's taking some inspiration from the 60s show Fester because he looks a
Okay.
lot like him and sounds like him and stuff. So I think he's kind of going for that. He doesn't have a super defined character, but he shows up. He apparently robbed a bank or something in town and is trying to hide out.
And again, his bit, are they criminals? Is what he
Seems like it.
constantly talks about how he's looking in safes for jewels.
Right.
Yeah. Well, obviously I have Thing there to pick the locks, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't even
And-
talk about Thing yet.
Well,
Yeah.
the
I think
last
another
Addams
highlight of the show
performance.
to me. Yeah.
Oh,
Probably my second
this,
favorite
is this
character
a-
after Wednesday.
oh
in the
yeah.
show. Yeah. I think
Oh,
Thing has a
man.
lot of personality for a disembodied hand in this, and I like his.
Well, I've been following Jenna
dynamic with
Ortega for a
Wednesday.
while. You've been following Things actor for a while.
Is this
Tell us
Andy
all about
Serkis?
him.
Is this his hand? Yeah.
It should be. No, I don't know the
Someone
actor's
find
name
out.
that plays him, but I do like how they use Thing in this show. He's kind of like Wednesday's little sidekick that helps her
The
out.
pet,
Yeah.
the familiar, the sort of other ally character that she can have around that's going to be the stable. And again, you feel them making the show go and be like, we cannot just have Wednesday be the only Addams Family character in it. Yes, we can have a crystal ball that they shake and call each other on, but let's have the hand. Let's have the fur ball. What was that one's name? Walking
Cousin
around.
It.
Cousin It.
Cousin
I'm
It.
sure
Yeah,
he'll show
where's
up in
Cousin It?
season
I
two.
just
Season
watched
2.
all these movies. How do you remember what these
Cousin
are called,
It.
Jake?
And Grandmama, right?
He's an expert. Wow.
I know
Wow.
everything about the Addams Family.
Grandmama.
Deep
Where was
cut.
Grandmama? I love her.
Season 2.
Lurch was in it, but he's just Lurch is just not a character.
He's
at
the
all.
driver in this one.
Yeah, he's just
Yeah, out
Yeah.
of all the 90s actors, I think that like Lurch was like the hardest one to kind of replace just because of the way he looks physically. And I don't even know who played him in the 90s one, but he just did such a good job.
the fireman, the guy from Twin Peaks, the giant.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great.
It was great.
Thing in this version is played by Victor Dorobantu. So
Oh,
shout
I
outs
knew it.
to I knew it was him.
I
but
did
hey,
watch some
A lot of character
behind the-
from just some tapping.
Yeah, I watched some behind the scenes footage of them shooting it and like how they shot Thing. And basically, he would just be wearing a full blue suit, so they could just, take him out of the picture. And then
Just
they would do a
his
bunch of
hand.
makeup on the hand, and then he
Mhm.
would literally just do stuff. And you see
Lay
all
on
these
the
shots of
ground and
Wednesday
walk up a-
walking around with like this guy in a blue suit next to her with his hand. It's very
A
funny.
20-year-old Jenna Ortega followed by a 50-year-old mocap performer.
Yeah, just in a full
fantastic.
green suit. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
And Jacob, it is the first time Thing has ever looked this sort of like zombified, sort of stitched together. Do you sort of like that as well?
Yeah, I think it's really, very Tim Burton-esque for sure.
Frank
Yeah,
Greene.
Yeah.
Yes. He's our Jiminy Cricket. He's kind of her conscience too. He'll call her
Yes.
out, Yep.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll break all your knuckles. I'm like, Wednesday, that's like your dog. Like, cool it.
Yeah. Maybe she just says stuff to say. it.
Wednesday
Yeah, I
does.
hope,
Well,
Mike.
Remember
Empty
how quick
threats.
she is
I
to
hope
just
so.
like start torturing this guy that
Oh,
a minute
yeah.
ago she was like in love with.
I
She's
forgot
like
she
so
tortured
down
him.
to torture.
And that reveal of I'm not alone, and then a bunch of kids we've never seen before come out. None of the
They've
main
been in the
characters
background.
except the bully siren girl.
They're like,
I'm
Edgar?
who are
Even
these
Edgar's here?
people? Yeah, it's
Or
like
whatever.
it's like what?
Eddie.
Those are
Yeah.
like the background Hogwarts characters, like
Yeah.
Seamus
No
or whoever
face.
that we don't know.
It is Seamus. Yeah.
It is, yeah. Seamus O'Finnegan. Yeah, you're right.
We've
Yeah.
become such good friends off screen, and
Yeah,
all those
that's
classes
right.
that weren't filmed. Yeah.
Right.
That's- Were they taking classes? Do we ever see them take a class?
I think
my
there's
God.
a scene or two in Christina Ricci's class where she's like talking about plants.
Because he brings the spider to life. They take
Yeah.
one botany class.
Yeah.
Jacob.
And they have a field day.
Yeah, and then they're allowed. Yeah, then
They do
all
And then it's
Extracurricular
parents'
activities.
weekend,
Yeah.
They have
Oh, I got-
canoeing.
I got fucking museum
Fencing.
duty. And you're like, museum duty? Like, wow, you're like 15 years old? What is going on here?
Yeah.
I
They
gotta
even
go
have-
work at the barber shop.
Remember in Harry Potter when they have the dance in the Goblet of Fire
Put on
year?
the
It's
silly
Mhm.
outfits.
the same fucking
Yeah, let's
thing.
talk about it. We're going
Yeah.
we're going through the plot.
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Wednesday, she has to go to this school. It sucks because she's too mean in normie world. Let's send her somewhere weird. The Addams, as we said, previously went there. You have a legacy. Go to Nevermore Academy, this sort of Edgar Allan Poe inspired collection for weirdos. She starts going to classes and just sort of solves this mystery. But yes, we get to the episode 4. I mean, again, it's just so
Algorithmically.
thank you.
Yes.
It's so
I don't think I said it
algorithmic.
right. Yeah.
You did not, but at least you tried, and I appreciate that. That you just go like, of course, this is the most tweetable, quotable, the Instagram, the big social media moment. It's happening at this, and then you've got the back 4 episodes, easy enough. And it's Jenna Ortega herself choreographing this amazing dance at the Raven. What is it called? The Raven Rave?
Inn. So it's like
The
Yeah.
Rave and
apostrophe
dance.
N.
The
So it's
Rave
like you're gonna
and
rave
dance.
and dance.
Okay.
Yeah, or the Raven. Yeah.
Yeah, this choreography, which you guys know probably that she choreographed herself, and modeled it off of like goth clubs in the 80s and like all these references she was saying, like Fred Astaire. There's actually a reference to the 60s show where there's that scene where the 60s
little
Wednesdays
foot
dance.
Lurch. Yeah.
She quickly does a move that's in reference to
Flipping her
that.
little
How does her
arms.
little legs
The
do that
feet
so
leg.
fast,
Yeah, the
Jacob?
feet
It's
legs. But
crazy.
yeah.
Her little feet legs.
Yeah, but that dance is great. She killed it, and
And just
She's
her
amazing.
face. Yeah, like we
Yes.
talked about the not blinking
It's-
thing.
It's the not blinking thing, but Mike, I'm so glad you said that because she did specifically what she said Tim Burton asked her to do, which was droog face, aka Stanley Kubrick face, which is the tilt down, eyes up. And I just think
just
anyone
that
who
weird
kind of
stare.
anyone who knows to ask for that and then for her to accomplish that, I truly think that's pretty remarkable.
Especially
I wouldn't
at
feel
20 years
verbalize
old.
that.
You know,
Yeah.
you haven't seen a Stanley Kubrick film. Not like she could
No,
have,
she
but like
seems
you didn't grow
very-
up with that knowledge, instead of
Her acting is very
creative.
like sophisticated for someone her age, and I love the moment when she's dancing. She like drops down and like pops up behind him and like taps him
Just
on the
stares
shoulder.
The
at him.
eyes are so crazy when she's doing that, Jacob, and her bangs flip up and down. I mean, it's shot so perfectly, just that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her Eddie Munson moment. Is that dance? Yep. But I think obviously she's doing a great job. The monster stuff, so that she is quick to torture, which even the other kids are like, we're out on this.
But she was right, because then he's playing like he doesn't know what she's talking about, but then he admits it all to her right at the police station. Is like,
right, but
yeah,
she was wrong 3 or 4 times before that and got 3 or 4
That's true.
people killed.
I'm a shapeshifter, and we got the true answer. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, drink some polyjuice potion.
Oh, got him, dude. Nice.
God, they were at the common room, and she fucking tricked her. You were right, Jacob.
Is Goody our moaning myrtle then? Who is
Pretty fucking much. And at the end,
Yeah.
Mike, when she starts saying, and of course, what you're wearing is a pendant that allows you to commune with spirits, and I will be passing through you, which means you'll never be able to see me again, but you will be healed by my ghostly presence. I'm just going like,
Sure, that's how that works.
there are moments where I'm just like, this is either the most complicated show ever made or just not complicated enough. And it really has a struggle walking that line.
Well, the rules of the magic and the supernatural are not that well defined, so they only matter when they have to bring up specific things, right? Otherwise,
Like when
it's just
Christina Ricci is saying, I of course waited for you because a blood lock was placed on this tomb. And you're like, of course.
Yeah.
And it's a blood moon today. Oh, so fortuitous. You should absolutely resurrect your zombie.
Yeah. Or Ajax
When
stoning himself accidentally just to create a
Yeah.
plot
What was
point.
that? What was the point of that?
that's just funny to me, because
Throw a
like
wrinkle in teen romance.
if you're a Medusa, then you might accidentally do that to yourself at some
You
point,
can't
right?
look in the mirror ever.
Which they probably could have destroyed Crackstone. Just stand in front of him and take your hats off. You know what I mean?
True,
So,
true.
yeah. There's some issues with the way the final battle
Or when she's
resolves.
like, I thought the therapist unlocked your hide powers using hypnosis, but it turns out it was Christina Ricci, and she used a plant-based.
The herbal activation of the medicine. Of course, there's so many. There's like a cluster of words she's using to describe something that's like so simple that you're just like, oh no.
Right.
She's got LeVar Burton levels of technobabble to get out, just with magic
But
instead.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, but I did like the big zombie pilgrim at the end. It's very campy and very kind of 90s, and it feels like it would fit into the 90s movies.
No more mutants. Yeah, he hates them.
And he
But it
had
would
this
fit in.
moment
yeah.
where he like was really into his descendant Mike, where he looked like super proud at her for resurrecting him, and he was like, absolutely, I'm back to kill these people. Let's do it. And then later she's like, we're doing the thing and I'm proud of us. And he was like,
He's
shut
like,
up,
shut
bitch.
up.
Shut up, get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, and
He
then she's
kind of
like,
just
never
made
be
me-
the heroes.
But he mainly just seemed mad that like a woman resurrected him.
Well, if you think about the time period, it
Yes,
came from,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm getting get away from me. Yeah. I get it.
You're
But if I
annoying,
was a zombie and somebody was like, hey, Colin Brooks, I'm Zib Zab Brooks, I'm 7 generations down, get to work, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it, dude. That's
All right.
great.
Cool.
Right. Now,
I
do you
guess
guys
he's not a great
like
guy,
the...
that Crackstone.
No.
Price.
Do you guys like the casting of Christina Ricci, bringing her back, the original, not the original Wednesday, but the 90s Wednesday that made her a star, and making her the villain? of the whole movie.
Well,
Interesting
fame
choice, right?
fame is just so brutal. Where it's like
Mm.
Christina Ricci was a star. She was a teen star. She slipped away. She did films like Prozac Nation, where she like becomes an indie darling, and people are like, she's naked in this. You know, she's not like a kid anymore. We can't comprehend with this. I don't want to see Wednesday Addams topless. I specifically remember kids in my high school like saying that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's seemed like she had trouble being a movie star, disappears. Now with Yellow Jacket, she's having this huge
show.
TV moment.
Yeah.
And it seems like, I'm sure producers, you go like, we're making a TV show. She's big right now. Synergy wise, that makes sense. She was Wednesday. Let's get her in. I don't need that kind of stunt casting. And then you hear these conversations Jenna Ortega had where she's like, I never said the words Wednesday out loud to her because I felt like really weird about it. And I like didn't like it at all. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you didn't. So
Well, there's a lot of pressure because you're living up
Wow.
to her performance, but you're also trying to do your own thing. So it's like a fine line that you have to walk of like making the character your own, but also paying homage to the 90s version. But I think making the Christina Ricci character such a different character from Wednesday was a good choice because it kind of shows like, oh yeah, Christina Ricci can be like a normal, not super like goth emo person too.
yeah.
I almost didn't recognize her at first. Like
Yeah.
it took me like a couple scenes to be like, oh wait, that's Christina Ricci.
Who's that nice lady?
Yeah, changing the hair and the glasses obviously, but yeah, I was like, oh okay. But I'm fine with it. I'm just glad, I mean, would you have felt better if there was a scene where she handed Wednesday a torch in the catacombs?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or
Like,
she snapped as well, came down and did it.
right.
No,
We didn't get
and
that
just-
at least.
But and back to the fame thing, to say like this show, like Jenna Ortega had the biggest year you could possibly have. Started the year with Scream, and people were like, "Oh my God, you're like a star." And from there, truly has been in nonstop movies, X, everything else that has made it. People now are like Marvel, blah blah blah. Wednesday is going to make her a household name. She made the absolutely best possible choice she could make to do this TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you just wonder where it's like, every Halloween, are you going to want people tweeting at you or being like, why didn't you post a Wednesday picture and do the snap like you do? Or, it's just like, I'm sure fucking Christina Ricci gets fucking tired of this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just follow her. Yeah.
I think Jenna Ortega will be fine because she's, a good actress. I think it's a lot like, if this is as big as Stranger Things, which Netflix apparently says it is, then yeah, she's going to be a big star like the Stranger Things kids became after that show. And I'm sure she'll go on and do other things where she's kind of playing against type, where she's trying different things eventually. I think she'll be great.
I mean, just in the projects that we talked about earlier, I mean, she's demonstrated range. So, I mean, it's not like this is all she can do. So as long as this opens some doors, and I think, I mean, it seems like she's into the role enough, like the length she went to like prepare for it. Like at least for the first couple of years, she probably won't get pissed off by people saying, hey, do the Wednesday thing. At least you'd hope.
Well, I almost wonder if she jettisons and doesn't come back for a season 2 just because she gets too big.
Really?
The Enid
I don't know,
show,
because I think
boys and
she
girls.
likes. I think she likes this character a lot.
Yeah,
and
I do too.
I was reading a little bit about the making of it, and apparently she wasn't even thinking about like trying out for this or anything. And then she met with Tim Burton. Tim Burton's like, I love your like whole look and everything. Like, and basically after one conversation with her, he's like, that's my Wednesday. Like, it can't be anyone else but her. So she made a really good impression. But yeah, I think she can play different types. Like, this is not the only thing she can do. So I think she'll be fine.
I mean, Johnny Depp did other things besides Edward Scissorhands, to be fair. So, he has picked out a star or two in his time,
Yeah.
Yes.
Burton, so
let's talk about Tim real quick. So he does the first 3 and then he does the finale. And again, like I said, shot in Budapest. He's there. I mean, there are pictures. I mean, he is directing this thing. We said produce. He's kind of putting together, choosing the cast. These are the people he wanted. I mean, what was the last Tim Burton movie you guys saw?
Willy
Yeah,
Wonka.
well, his later career has been not so great, right? Like, he started out super hot with Beetlejuice, Batman. Then he did a bunch of like basically everything from Sweeney Todd on. the second half of his career has been kind of a letdown to me, and I haven't really liked a lot of his movies.
You know what, Jacob? You just made me think. Michael Keaton, Uncle Fester, would have been incredible.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Mr. Mom, like completely unhinged energy.
Sure.
Michael Keaton, bald head. Yeah.
That would have been
Maybe
fun.
he'll
He
be-
could have shown up for a day.
They should have like a really famous person be Cousin It, and then just cover them.
Just
in
do
hair
the
and never-
gibberish.
That's
Never
Johnny
show
Depp.
his face. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Mike, feelings on the Big B?
I mean, yeah, I think Jacob found the break point as Sweeney Todd. I would agree with that, and I didn't watch Alice in Wonderland. I watched Willy Wonka and I was underwhelmed by it.
Jacob and I saw
some
Alice
of
in
his-
Wonderland in theaters, I should point out.
The first one.
I
yeah.
saw Willy
Together.
Wonka there.
Very
in
high.
theaters.
Insane
in
movie.
3D.
Yeah.
Still not
But
good.
even his last
it was
couple
pretty good.
movies,
Okay.
I haven't really seen, like Dark Shadows. Like he's made a million movies that I haven't even sought out yet.
I wouldn't be able to tell you what the last one was, honestly.
Big Eyes, I think. Or-
That was the last theatrical film he released. You think that was
I'm not
Big Eyes with
100%.
Amy Adams? But it could be, Jacob. Oh, you know what
Yeah.
it is?
Dumbo.
No, even Jacob, I was
Oh.
about to
Burton,
say,
Dumbo.
I think it's fucking Dumbo, dude. I think Disney completely broke him, right? And I
Yeah.
like Dumbo. It's
Also, we didn't even mention, so the 90s Addams Family movies, he was attached for a while to direct. And then I'm not sure exactly what happened, but he kind of pulled out. Barry Sonnenfeld
Well,
stepped in.
Jacob, he decided to go for a shit ton of money and make a little sequel to a film called Batman Returns instead.
Never heard
So
of
his
it.
cinematographer, Barry Sonnenfeld, goes, I would love a chance to direct a movie. Gets to direct his first film, The Addams Family.
And it makes so much sense. Like Addams Family, Tim Burton, like it almost makes too much sense that I was like, wait, why hasn't Tim Burton done anything with the Addams Family before now? But yeah, so makes sense.
Yeah. And you're correct.
People
Dumbo.
have probably said to him, I love The Addams Family, by the way. And he's like, what do you mean? And they're like, those movies you made.
Yeah, just like you said, Nightmare Before Christmas, he didn't direct that. Henry Selick doesn't get enough credit.
No.
I
he
legitimately
was-
didn't know that until this year.
You didn't know that?
I somehow, it's one of those things. I don't think I'm alone in that. I take full
No.
ownership.
Well, it's
but
called
No.
Tim
It's-
Burton's
yeah,
Nightmare Before Christmas because he
It's-
produced it,
boom.
but he
And
wasn't.
he had a bigger
there
name. He
every
didn't
day.
direct it.
Yeah,
Right. and
definitely-
I didn't know that.
put creatively input things. Like he helped make it, but he wasn't the director. And
Right.
you can kind of even see it, like Henry Selick made Coraline, which is a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Burton made Princess Bride, not that great to me. Anyways,
Coraline, a film we saw that same year, high at that same theater together when
Love
we saw
Coraline.
fucking.
no, you said Princess Bride. I don't think that's what you meant.
Princess
correct?
Bride or Corpse Bride, right?
Corpse
Corpse
Bride.
Bride. Yes. Yeah.
So Tim
Rob
Burton made
Reiner's
Corpse
Princess
Bride. Henry Selick made Coraline.
Is it
Henry
called?
Selick is like a stop motion
Yes.
master. Like he's
Mhm.
great at stop motion.
Even worse, is it called Tim Burton's George and the Giant Peach? Is that what that's called?
Oh, I'll
Maybe,
check.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
not
James
sure.
and the Giant Peach. Is that what that's called?
I
Because
don't
that's
think it's
another Henry
marketed
Selick
that
movie
way.
Henry
that he
Selick, too.
produced, though.
Yeah.
Not
It's
marketed
Tim
that
Burton
way.
produced. Oh, okay, good. Okay.
But I think
Here's
that's
a
what's
Bite of Peach is great,
interesting.
too.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. And Coraline's awesome as well. But it's interesting to me because I think a lot of people in our generation talked about Hot Topic and Jack Skellington and stuff. Sally. Like the most attributed, Tim Burton aesthetic is not a Tim Burton
Yeah.
directed joint. And I think
No.
that's kind of weird.
Well, because he became so synonymous with that aesthetic, which I'm sure he had a lot of input on
Yeah.
that movie.
Oh,
how it would look.
he as an animator at CalArts, we should say, wrote a short story that is 4 pages long with these drawings that are
Right.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
He also made,
so
like, that-
the art style
the
is his.
Victor short that's like about
Yes.
like
the
has
Frank and
very
Weenie
similar
short.
style, Frank and Weenie. Yeah.
Yeah, and if anything, I think he has more of an aesthetic than he does like a style, so to
Yes.
speak, as a director.
Totally.
right?
It's
So,
Mike. It's black and white stripes.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
He's
Not a
allergic to color,
style.
too.
It's a look. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. But it does make sense. He finally gets to do something in the Addams Family, behind the camera, directing it. And I think, it's right up his alley. There might be a little bit of rough edges, but Wednesday doesn't want to be well-rounded. She wants to have a sharp edge. So I guess
That's
mission
fair.
accomplished.
Can we
The only
say
bummer
that-
about Tim Burton being involved is that we didn't get Helena Bonham Carter in this thing, right? Because they
She
got
should have
Oh,
been
divorced.
geez, where
principal.
was she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that's the reason she's not the principal. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
What if she just plays her character from Harry Potter, just
Bellatrix
visiting the
Lestrange.
school? Bellatrix Lestrange as a guest
she would fit
lecturer.
in.
Escaped convict. I mean, that's basically what Christina
yeah.
Ricci's playing, right? Is
Yeah,
maniac from the past.
She could have been the Christina Ricci role or the Gwendolyn Christie role.
But I'm glad she wasn't. But season 2, let's do it. Do it, Tim. I dare you.
Yeah, I would like it. Do you come back to the school? Do you just make it about Wednesday? Is it more about the Addams family?
Yeah,
Maybe
I guess
Pugsley,
season 2 speculations before.
Pugsley's a year older, so he starts going to Nevermore. She's got to like take care of her younger brother, kind of
fuck,
thing.
that is what it's gonna be,
Oh,
Jacob.
you're
God
right.
fucking damn you.
Yeah,
And then he's
the new
bullied.
headmaster. Yeah,
It is. Who closed the school faster? How many dead bodies did it take? Hogwarts or Nevermore? I want to know.
The reveal that the principal stood in for the dead kid because it's what the dad would have wanted. I'm like, no matter what excuse you're saying right now, it's like, this is all over.
right.
Dumbledore's done some questionable stuff too, and he kept his job.
I don't know,
so.
Mike. We dragged Dumbledore when we did those 7 episodes. Like as they went on, I remember
putting
us
children
all,
in
like,
danger,
turning on him, like truly being like, this guy's a fucking psychopath. But
When you
even
have like
he
a
would have
school
shut
for
this school
magic
down.
and stuff, a lot of things can go wrong, right? And if you have a school with vampires and werewolves, like of course someone's gonna die eventually. Like
the hide got out.
Yeah,
right.
But again, I think
Control.
a weakness of this season for me was that there was like too many deaths. Like the therapist died, Gwendolyn Christie died, Thing almost died, and it was like, again, what's the point of killing Gwendolyn Christie? Just to have another death scene, or like
Jacob.
she didn't want to come back? I don't know.
She has no Hagrid. She has no ally adult figure that sort of can anchor there too. She needs a kindly new teacher at that school next season who shares similar interests as her. Or we were just talking about other characters. Maybe Grandma, it's revealed, was a fucking teacher back in the day, and she has to go to the school, and Grandmama, and now she's, I teach bones class. You can always come to my room for advice.
It's like divination.
You're like, great, perfect.
Hella Bonham Carter, sign her up. Just old
no
her.
kidding, Mike. Jesus Christ.
Give her a white
Angelica
hair.
Houston.
Oh,
that. See, Mike, Jacob,
alive.
I don't
now
want
you're doing the wrong
any
thing.
of that stuff. Get it all out of here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would. Season 2.
I'm down to watch a season 2, whatever it may be. I thought, like I said, it's not amazing. It's not life-changing TV, but it's enjoyable enough for an 8-hour watch of just a little show to watch. Right? I would recommend it.
You could tell me AIs wrote this show. I mean, it is truly, to me, the death of creativity. This is content.
Wow.
Regardless if it's good or bad.
But do we know it was an algorithm that created it, or just someone had the idea of like Wednesday Addams, modern day, age her up a few years so she's in high school.
Listen to what you're saying.
You got a show.
It's like there's 15 steps you have to get to be like, and this is marketable.
Well, how did they create Riverdale? Was that created by an algorithm? Let's make a teen drama about.
We're gonna take
Archie.
Archie.
It's exactly what you said. Of somebody goes, we own a thing from the 50s. I would like if people bought that thing from the 50s. And separately, you get Alexandra Aha or whatever that guy's name is. I can't remember right now. Who goes like, well, I was thinking about making a show about Twin Peaks in high school, and you're like, great. That happens to Archie Andrews. And you're like, okay.
Jughead.
I think it is the same thing where it's like the algorithm says all this stuff works. We will listen to pitches that include these things. What do you have? And they go, well, I was kicking around something with the Addams Family. And they go, the Addams Family stars a girl that's from 14 to 18, right? And you're like, well, yeah, it does technically.
Mm-hmm. She's a girl boss. Yeah.
Or it's just a magical school script. And they're like, what do we own that we can slap on top of it?
Yeah. And again, what is it going to be, a Roald Dahl property? I truly believe something like that could have occurred where they're like, what are the books from the 50s we own?
Right. Hey, why are these Gen Z kids seem pretty sad? Do we have anything kind of moody and goth that we can throw on here? Perfect.
I think it makes a lot of sense why this got made.
I don't think it's the worst piece of content. I think it has some issues with the writing.
No.
But yeah.
And you guys are going to love my Netflix murder mystery set at Wayside School for Kids or whatever those fucking dumbass kid books were called? You guys
Oh,
remember
geez.
Wayside?
No. Oh, Far Tales from Wayside or whatever.
Is
they're
that what
called?
those? Yeah, I think that's what those are called. Yeah,
Yeah.
where
Strange.
the
do-
janitor solves mysteries, but they're all like insane kids.
I'm gonna do
Yeah.
an edgy reboot of the Boxcar Children. That's my project.
Yeah, that's a much.
The
That's
Babysitter's
what I
Club?
should have pulled from. You're right.
yeah,
Did I
right.
tell you
Yeah.
about my Boxcar Children script where they find a drifter with his head cut
Right.
off?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
And
right.
the
That's
Hardy
very
Boys, the Nancy Drew, yeah. just
Well, and
they put 'em all-
remember-
Cinematic
we
universe,
know-
yeah.
We know that Hulu Hardy Boys exists because my beloved, what is his name from the Halloween franchise? Is the
Corey Cunningham.
star-
Oh, yes.
Corey
of course.
Cunningham.
We love Corey
How
Cunningham.
could we forget?
Mike
will never
immediately
forget.
blurts out, Corey Cunningham.
I will always remember Corey.
I think that's the thing, though, is just like, yeah, that's what most of Hollywood now is like, what existing IPs can we turn into like a teen show or whatever? Like,
Guys.
you don't need to make new stuff now. But I guess that's kind of been the case for a long time. Like Smallville,
Yeah,
obviously, that's
I
based
know.
on Superman and DC Comics.
Yep.
So like everything
I'm
these
not
days is
defending
based
it.
on something else.
Yeah, what if
Yeah.
Superman had teenage angst?
Yeah.
But the again, and this is boomer talk. The ability of creativity that came from we think this is what people like. You fill in the gaps with what you think versus the robot told me in a dream that ones and zeros were processed this many hours by 16 children and a kid named Jacob needs to see, this little girl with pigtails solve mysteries. So,
Yeah.
put the thing in there. That just seems so much more limiting to me.
I'd rather they
The
just have a
algorithm knows
vision
what
and
we
a
want.
fever dream than an analytics based.
Look, Colin, the algorithm knows. The algorithm knows deep down
Yeah.
what show you want to watch exactly. And it'll make
Yeah,
that
it
show.
does.
Ooh,
It does.
spooky.
It
You just
did.
have
It
to
made
accept it.
American Vandals, and then it canceled it. Here's the thing. There's
Give
no
in to the algorithm.
guarantee on the creativity too, because here's the thing. This was released on Thanksgiving. It got the most watched eyes of all time. Okay, can you recreate that on season 2? Do you just release it on another holiday? I'll say this: there were 3 other shows released on Netflix on the same day. Can you guys name any of them?
Squid Game 2.
Nope. Nope.
No, I don't
nope,
know.
nope. Oh wait,
And that's how
nope.
Netflix goes. It's a crapshoot every time because
But they make-
know
Yeah, they make a
have the
million
numbers
shows.
to back
Some of
it
them
up.
Yeah, like 2 of them will be a hit.
And that's
48
it
of them will
pays
fail.
off the
Yeah.
rest of them.
You
and
just need to
then
have the video
when
store
those
filled out.
2 stop providing, those are collateral damage too. And you go,
Well, Netflix.
okay,
Did the
Netflix has
Queen
just been
drop the
making
same
weird
day?
choices. The Queen.
I can't.
maybe a new
I
season of the
think
Queen, but that's been
no.
on for a
I
while.
can't remember what it was, but some other stuff came out where I said, "Wow, really?" And there's just nothing. They just don't even tell you.
Netflix makes some weird decisions, like buying the Knives Out franchise for $400 million and then releasing the new Knives Out movie for 1 week limited time in theaters.
A
before-
franchise that made $800 million, an original property in box office when it was released, and you decide like, well, that'll generate eyeballs. And you go like, but what is the
We'll
revenue
release it for a
of that?
week in theaters where it's
Mhm.
super popular, then pull it and wait another month to release it on Netflix. Make
then
that make sense to me.
Look at Disney Plus, where Enchanted, huge box office, unexpected box office. Okay, well, we're going to
Right.
make a sequel where it goes direct to the thing. It makes $0, but again, it maybe got people to subscribe. The whole model. None of this
Yeah.
is working. I just
Well,
want
again,
everybody to
Prey-
say this and know this. You're not
Prey
making
would have
money.
made $300
Prey
million
was the number
in the
one thing
box
on the
office.
planet. It
Yeah.
means nothing. When you write these Forbes theoretical what they made articles, guess what? Your industry is a sham. It's all speculation, and it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And it's fine because I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of it. I want to work in the film industry, and recognizing what it is important. And we are going to reach a point where even stuff like this, Netflix isn't going to be able to take a gamble on because they're going to get so specific that they go, but this loses 5 people and we want all 100.
Yeah, Netflix also notorious for canceling popular shows after their second season so they don't have to pay the creators and people that work on it a pay bump.
Oh,
which
it's
they get
part
in the third
1
season.
and part 2. Oh, what's part
Yeah.
2? That's season 2? No, it's season 1. Contractually, it is season 1. We
Right.
don't have to pay you again.
Mhm.
Oh,
But I think all
great.
these streaming services, they're still trying to figure out how to be profitable in this day and age of
And they never
streaming.
will be.
Yeah, maybe. But
Maybe
that's
South
kind of
Park
the
was
future
right.
that's the future of Hollywood in the entertainment industry, is that like nobody really knows anything anymore. Like streaming broke the entire theatrical model, so now they have to find other
Yeah.
ways to make money.
Commercials were the only thing that paid for all of this. And you going and buying popcorn when it's the big pictures. And when we took both those things away, it's almost like there's not really a way for anyone to make any money at all. So you just spend and spend and spend to be the one person still spending. Great.
I think we've done it. I think Colin is finally ready to wolf out. So
He's
let's
like,
let him
my nails.
unleash as we go to final thoughts. Right after this.
We're back. We're talking Netflix's Wednesday, of course, based on the property of Charles N. Addams, the Addams Family. Like Jacob said, our favorite New Yorker comic strip adaptation.
Hell yeah.
It's not going to be that one duck cartoon from that episode of Seinfeld that we all remember. No.
Far Side?
I guess the Far Side was. You know what? If they ever made a Far Side TV show, I'd be pretty down for that, Jacob.
Yeah, get Gary Larson on board.
As long as
He's
the
still
algorithm
alive? I don't know.
Fucking
dictates
find him, man. He's somewhere out there.
Yeah.
But Wednesday, Netflix, we were talking the state of the streaming union, if Wednesday is their latest monster, then the Netflix is its master, and we'll see what they unleash upon us going forward. But
Every streaming show has a master. Everyone knows this.
Look, the
it's
important
either
thing
a
is
mouse or a
outcasts
robot.
are not monsters, except for the one that was a monster and was bad.
It was a normie, but also an outcast.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It's what made the monster bad was the masters. There's no bad dogs, just bad owners, right? Who was a normie.
That's right.
Yeah.
How did she get a job at a school for weirdos? What did she say she was?
Well, that's what they
weird
say
about?
a few times. Like, and this is our first normie teacher. So she's
Oh, is that
like
what
the
they
diversity
say?
hire, I guess.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, okay.
That's a
Yeah.
diversity.
Thank
hire.
you. Okay, that works.
That makes sense. So don't trust normies is the theme of this.
Pretty much.
Yeah, if you're an
outcast-
outsider, don't try to fit in with normies.
Should we start calling this podcast "Outcasts Like Us"?
I think we're just gonna switch it now. Yeah, outcast.
Gorgons like Mike.
That's right. I liked what it said. Gorgons are always getting stoned. That was a great line to me, but
It was.
a little on the nose.
The part where Christina Ricci says, "My father always said to outwit outcasts," or it's whatever she says, you have to outsmart them. I'm like, that's
that made
great.
no sense to me.
Oh, I loved it. I was like, perfect, great.
To outsmart outcast, you have to outthink them, I think is what she said. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Well,
To
you don't have any
outwit
powers.
Outcasts. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Somehow it did make sense. I swear it did.
That's my
Right.
brain leaked out of my ear slightly. I'll just go. We kind of talked this thing to death, which Wednesday would love. Things being talked to death. I don't think it's as offensive as it. I think it's fine. I think it's totally fine. I'm down for a season 2. It does have some maybe algorithmic issues, but I think it's just maybe to me just the writing is a little. I don't think it's that big of a problem, but it does have the Umbrella Academy vibes, Harry Potter. It's a little bit everything, but I think it's fine. It's fun, and I'd watch a second season. And I think it's appropriate that on Thanksgiving we're questioning the Pilgrim narrative. So points on you, Netflix, to do that to us.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think, I agree with you. It's not high art or anything, but it's an enjoyable TV show. It's, if you like CW teen dramas, if you like Harry Potter, if you like Umbrella Academy, if you like any of these things, you'll probably like this show. And, it is what it is.
You're really
And,
watching for the performance almost.
Yeah.
I think it's got, like you said, one killer performance that makes it rise above like your Riverdales and your, whatever else. But
Lock and Key.
yeah,
Another
I mean,
throwaway
come on,
version
Mike.
of this. Yeah.
Of a
What's that?
mystery
Oh,
of kids. Of
Mhm.
there's another one that I watched. What was it called? Like something of Skulls and Bones or something. I don't even remember. It's another YA adaptation on Netflix. It was fine.
Yeah.
But that's, again, we're, adult males in their early 30s, not exactly the main target audience for the show. And
No.
that's okay because it's still
Yes.
enjoyable. And I think it's I think
Yeah.
if you're a teen, you'll like it. If you're in your 20s or in your 30s, you'll like it. Yeah.
You're 100% right about that. No defense, but I will say the high art comment, yes. High art, low art, I have no issue with B-made movies. The passion behind it. The result of how something comes out who cares? That's content. That's objective. You're biased either way. It's, do you like it, not like it? That's on you. Okay. Why something is made is my issue. This is ice cream. Ice cream is not naturally occurring. It is a chemical process that is put together and is being put in front of us. Whether or not, again, the ice cream is good or bad, that's up to your taste buds, buddy. I'm licking this thing and I'm going like, oh wow, we're making ice cream. Netflix,
Sure.
you are the one who consistently makes the finest ice cream. You don't make good ice cream. You make bad ice cream, but consistently you make fine ice cream. And it's, and look, it's like it's all getting down to the same shit, because this is the McDonald's Marvel argument, where it's like, yeah, it's not high art, it's not low art, it's consistency. Again, that is content for content's sake. Marvel at this point is making that because they are a machine, and it is a movie to them as Apple releasing a new iMac. It is a product. Right. It's very shiny. They want you to buy it. That's great. This is the same thing. That's fine. This is a content. It's a product. I'm buying it. Will I watch season 2? Of course, because I know that the robot knows I want season 2. Fantastic. Yeah. You beat me, robot. You're going to win in the end. I've seen Terminator. I'm not going to be able to beat you, robot.
Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, I don't know how much passion there is behind it. I don't know how much Tim Burton really cared about the show, if he just put his name on it and was kind of half-assing
or Alfred Goh and Mark Miller.
Yeah, but I do think this show could have been more half-assed. So I think there was some effort put into it by at least some of the people that were making it. It could have been worse, I guess, is what I'm saying. And if you want to get into the Marvel of it all, I think Marvel is like McDonald's, not because it's always consistent, but because it's usually, like you said, it's usually fine. Sometimes you have McDonald's and you have a really quality good control. McDonald's. Sometimes you have really shit McDonald's. But normally, like you said, it's pretty consistently fine. Sometimes you get a great meal. Sometimes you get a shit meal. Sometimes you get a great Marvel movie. Sometimes you get a shit one. Mostly you get a solid B plus, something like that, right?
And I'm kind of surprised if you get an extra good Big Mac. You're like, oh, yeah. Wow, how about that?
See, but you're usually not really ordering off of what you know, right? When you go and you're like, McDonald's has something called like a Southwestern burger? What the hell's Black Panther? And then you watch it and you're like, wait, this is fucking good. And they're like, well, it's a limited time only. When you come back next week, you're getting McNuggets again. And it's like, well, I guess I am. There isn't that with Netflix. Netflix, Jacob, to your point, they don't have the consistency to go like Stranger Things, equal to Stranger Things, equal to Stranger Things, equal to Stranger Things. They're young. They're trying to figure it out. Maybe, God bless them, there is still a little bit of that human element going like, I don't know, like, let's get fucking freaky. Like, let's fucking try some stuff. And if it works, we'll get lucky and God bless us. We got to stay away from the icy roboticness of it all. Please.
I think they should take a lesson from their big hit, Stranger Things, which wasn't created by an algorithm. Like, the Duffer Brothers came up with this
They were passionate. They pitched. No one else would buy it. You're 100%
Netflix
right,
bought it.
Jacob.
Became a big hit. And then they let the Duffer Brothers do what they wanted for the next 4 seasons and didn't really like say, oh, no, well, now we want to make it so it's like still super profitable. So make this character do this or whatever. They didn't really interfere in that way. So I guess pay creators to make stuff they're passionate about. I think that's the ultimate secret, because when most people, when they watch stuff, they can tell if it was made by someone who's passionate about it or not. And generally that's the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about how I rewatched Blade Runner 2049. Someone was very passionate about that, and it shows.
Yeah.
But, I think you said it best, Jacob. And Wednesday would probably like the best review for this coming from you. And I think in general, Wednesday, it could have been worse.
Could have been worse. It really could have been.
Yeah, it could have been worse. So at least be thankful for that. But let's not travel down the dark path, hopefully, as Colin's suggesting. But yeah, it could have been worse. So
that's her reaction to the school. Like, at first she hates it. And then she's like, wait, I actually fit in here. Because
maybe this forced vacation won't be so bad.
So embrace the pain,
And I'd be happy to have
kind of
more
secretly
Wednesday.
like it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there we go. We've done it on this Monday, releasing on a Tuesday. We've talked Wednesday, my dudes.
Wednesday, my dudes.
The state of the stream.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us in Nevermore for this special Wednesday. Yeah.
That's right. We're done talking our favorite Edgar Allan Poe themed canoe events. Instead, we're going to be wrapping it up here and say, check us out at normies_like_us or outcasts _like_
Outcasts like us, not like
on
us.
YouTube, which is of course a podcast run by a gorgon, a werewolf, and a siren.
I'm actually a hide.
A hide. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'm a siren.
You're normal on ours, and then you go do the hide podcast.
Yeah. And I'm the siren songing too.
I'm Jekyling. I'm totally Jekyling, bro.
Dude, I'm Jekyling today, bro. No, I'm just siren songing you to like, share, and subscribe with all your friends. You know,
Right. Take your amulet off. Yeah.
When you're on so many drugs or you're so drunk you can't function, but for 5 minutes you have to, that should be called Jekyling, where it's like,
before you hide out.
We have to put in your order at the Taco Bell drive-thru. You have to Jekyll right now. And it's like, I'm hiding out.
Don't hide, brother.
Hey, could I get a chalupa? Thank you so much. And then you're like running around in the parking lot, and they're like, oh, that's a fucking Jekyll and Hyde over there.
And if you guys find yourself at home listening when you feel like you're about to hide out, just throw on our episode and let it play on repeat all night, you know, while you forget.
That's right.
Please. When you're shackled in your cave getting your injections. What?
Throw on Outcasts Like Us.
Here's the other thing. I'm going to be talking about this show for a while because there are so many things where I'm going to be saying to like Joe, if he hasn't watched it, where I'm be like, you haven't seen the hide, or you know, like you haven't like seen the Gorgon guy, like so all right.
Don't want to spoil it, but
no, we won't.
It's a good show.
But again, let us know, normies, if you watched it too, what you think, which day of the week you want to be named after. I'm a Saturday kid, of course, and
Fridays I'm in love.
Fridays Jacob's in love, and like, subscribe, that helps us out a lot, and of course check out our YouTube as well. Some great videos going up there. And we have been your hosts. This is it for the normies here. Colin Mez. Colin no Mez.
I like it. Monday's child is fair of face. This is Mike Tisha. Thank you for listening.
How dare you?
And this is Uncle Jake Esther. So long, normies. And outcasts.
Bye.